Facebook Live. We're on the Red Zone Extra channel, and we are here to talk sports with you today, such as it is. We're going to talk Chiefs mostly because the Chiefs are what's kind of happening. But a lot's really happening in the world. And who better to share this time with than the esteemed Sam Mellinger, the honorable Vahe Gregorian.
Yeah, I'm not honorable.
I think you went the right way with that, Blair.
Did you guys watch any sports this weekend? We obviously didn't cover any sports. There wasn't anything here, and there wasn't anything going on anywhere, but there was sports on TV,
I went to
replay stuff. Did you watch anything?
I went to Sports Clips, and I found out it was not just a bunch of movies. They do haircuts.
And they have sports on. That's part of the
they
shtick,
did,
right?
and it was UFC.
Because that was
and
live.
I think I'm pretty sure that was live. And it's funny though you say that. One of the things, looking at the paper yesterday, I was in here Friday, and Daniel, our guy working on the 5-day planner and on the TV radio stuff, was like, "There's nothing to put in there for Sunday," and it was everything on the Sunday listing. All 4 items were taped. Pardon me, 3 of the 4 items were taped. The 4th, there was a bowling thing that was still going on. So that's what I came across this weekend.
I did watch sports this weekend. I watched.
Oh, I know what you watched.
Yeah.
Live? You watch some live sports?
In person.
Yeah. I watched my kids take some hacks in the backyard.
I saw a video of that. That was pretty cool.
And then maybe the highlight of my 6 years as a dad, we sat on the couch and we watched Bo Jackson highlights. And when they were over, we watched more Bo Jackson highlights. And it was fulfilling.
Well, how did the kids enjoy it?
I went 1 for 2.
What about, I think you left us hanging also with your column the other day. How did the dance party go?
It was great.
Okay.
Although I tried to turn it, Katie had on, the kids had their playlist, and it's basically like pop. It's like a lot of Imagine Dragons and stuff like that. And I wanted to go clean playlist, but 90s rap, just, my childhood, bring it to them, and they were not having it. Biggie was a specific point in time, it turns out. So
Bringing my childhood to them. I love that.
Yeah, it didn't work.
I saw the video clip that you put on social media. You got a lefty. Yeah. Somebody
He's
swings
all
from the left
lefty.
side. Is he all lefty?
And you know what they say about like lefties are just kind of
Yeah,
screwy. It's accurate, at least in our house, because that kid.
So you're saying he comes by it naturally,
Yes.
but also that you did not literally twist the other arm into him becoming a lefty?
No.
You're not
What's
looking for
funny is
that?
I tried
Okay.
with our first. I was like, because like I would say, like Scott Downs probably took really good care of his parents, but he just wasn't having it. But the younger one, man, he does everything. He hits his brother left-handed.
Right.
He eats left-handed. Like everything's left-handed with him.
True southpaw.
Yep.
Our buddy Brian LeBurge noticed, looks like you have some good social spacing. Nice work, A-Team.
Yeah. Finally.
Long overdue for the social spacing.
Be able to use this as an excuse, get a little distance. So we obviously we're trying to make light of some of this, but in the spirit of making light, we have we just had the Seinfeld reference a little earlier to the one thing that might come of this is some eradication of close talkers.
God, I hope so.
Or at least a pause, a good healthy pause.
Yep.
The one true silver lining.
Yeah.
Yep.
Am I a close talker? Does it turn out?
No.
Okay.
None of us should be afraid to say, just speak up. Just please speak up a little bit.
Step back and speak up.
So yeah, these are different times. We would be spending today in any other year planning our travel for the first and second rounds of the NCAA tournament. I think we were pretty all assured of going to Omaha and following the Jayhawks, the only team that was going to qualify. Take that back. Kansas State did win its first Big 12 tournament game. The Wildcats were still alive in the college basketball season, as were the Tigers, who didn't get a chance to start the Southeastern Conference tournament. But here we are in the studio, not making travel plans. In fact, canceling a lot of travel plans. I guess I did that on Thursday and Friday, maybe Friday.
Well, it had taken on such a obviousness, I guess, that one way or another it was going to be Omaha, Houston, or St. Louis, maybe St. Louis, Houston, or maybe Indianapolis. But we'd all booked that stuff. And it is weird, just the last 24 hours in particular, though, all we've been doing is taking stuff off the table as we sort of reset and try to reassess. But Blair, I think since 1985 or something, this weekend has always been frantic Sunday night for you.
God.
And for me, it's been since like 1990. And for Junior, it's been like, since 2000. But all of us are used to, for a good 20 plus years, right? That this is it's
the best month of the year.
The time where you really feel that sort of abrupt loss of it, right? And this week in particular, I think really holds that.
We'd be breaking down the bracket in addition to making plans, right? Arguing about where the upset specials were going to be, what 12s were going to handle the 5s, and who's going to come off the pace, who's going to be the surprise Final Four team, and it's just sort of unreal that that's not going to happen.
Did you do anything in particular, either of you guys, at 5:30 yesterday? I mean, I was just like driving around.
Yeah, no. I keep thinking this isn't an original thought, but like it's just how quickly everything happened. Like a week ago right now, I was pretty sure that they were going to play games without fans, which I think was like further along the spectrum than most people were.
Yeah.
But I was pretty sure they'd play the games, Like I would have bet a lot of money they'd at least play like last Monday. And I remember thinking like, a bunch of people were joking about like, I'm going to self-quarantine and watch the NCAA tournament. And I'm like, that's pretty sweet, like worst ways to spend 2 weeks or whatever and just nothing. I mean, it's crazy how Jesse Newell posted, you see that picture he posted about the Stars, the sports cover like 4 days in a row?
Oh, it's funny. We were talking about that,
Yeah.
but I didn't realize Jesse had posted it that way. So just the changing tone of the
Yeah. I
sports
mean,
cover.
it was like, everything's great, and then it was like, oh, tournament held, amid fears. And then it was not going to have any fans. And then the next day it was like, nope.
Gone.
I remember
just crazy how
one in
fast.
particular was sort of like crazy times, but still a tournament to play.
Yeah.
It's, Blair and I were over talking we were at the Kansas City Girls Prep Academy
Yep.
Easy for you to say.
event. I know. That the Big 12 and the city of Kansas City and I guess college football playoff were contributing to, and had quite a nice time actually over
Yep.
there seeing the operation. But we were there also to talk to Bob Bowlesby, and it was interesting. That was Tuesday, the Big 12 commissioner, and we got talking to him, and it was still a little tentative, right? Like, oh, so you think there's really a chance you might play a game without fans?
Can you see a scenario?
Do you see
Right.
wouldn't that be weird? And so I remember coming back, Blair and I came back to the office, and we were kind of like, I was like, it's fair to say there's a chance there really won't be fans in the stands, right? I've got that right?
Yeah.
And the next day, we're in here and something else is going on. I look over at Blair and I say, it's accurate to say the world is in crisis, right? Is that the right term? And Blair's like, yeah, it's crisis.
That's where we are.
And that really, I just felt like that 24-hour span. Yeah. But we all know this now. I mean, it's pretty clear, and you can almost pinpoint the tipping point of the NBA decision as when everything else just went off the rails or off the table, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, Rudy Gobert, the idiot hero, as he's been called,
Yeah.
which I thought was a fantastic column in the Toronto newspaper.
Bruce Arthur, yeah.
Bruce Arthur, our buddy up there. Tex Coliseum and not play in Mercedes-Benz, but with no fans. But the tournament was going to happen. And then the Rudy Gobert NBA situation happened on Wednesday night, and Thursday we all got to the Big 12 tournament at about 10:30, 11 o'clock, 10:30, quarter of 11. And I was standing in line waiting to get my bag checked to go into Sprint Center. And next to that line, there's a line for players' parents. And of course, they were already limited. No, there were not going to be any fans in the stands, just parents. And there was a mother of a Texas player on the phone saying, with her mouth agape, and said, "We're not playing today." And this is before anybody knew it. So they told the teams first in the locker room, and then we got into Sprint Center. And I think the press conference was about 11:15. And just like that, just in a series of ACC, Big Ten, Pac-12, Big 12, all off. And then it was about 4:15 in the afternoon. maybe it was 3:15 our time that the announcement came from the NCAA. No March Madness. Stunning.
Yep.
Just stunning. So,
Yep.
but there is sports happening. If it can happen over the phone, it's happening.
That's right. Yep.
If it can happen in conference rooms and on teleconferences, it is happening. And it's happening now in the NFL. And it's been a busy morning and early afternoon in the NFL. Some of the trades are like eye-opening, and Chiefs have had to make some decisions on players, and we know some things now that we didn't know, that we had some good ideas about and suspected at the start of the day or going into the weekend, but now we know for sure Chiefs are franchise tag Chris Jones. It doesn't look like, looks like Damian Williams is a part of the future here for the Chiefs. Players like Deion Yelder, they want back. Andrew Wiley, they want back. But among those who we know won't be back, Xavier Williams, defensive tackle. Who am I missing? A couple others that did not get tendered. But anyway, so things are moving with the Chiefs. And of course, Chris Jones is as he has been throughout since the Super Bowl, really, and even before that. That's the big story for the Chiefs. So break it down. What does it mean to franchise tag Chris Jones? Do we expect him to be a member of the Chiefs next season?
I do, but I feel like also you're really way more dialed in. I feel like you've been on the front lines with this, and to that point also throwing it your way too in terms of the CBA. I mean, how does that affect?
Yeah.
You got into that for your column today, but how does that affect their ability to do all this, and what do you think about Chris Jones?
It seemed like a couple months ago that just sort of the people that matter with these things, that there wasn't a lot of optimism, that a tag and trade was at least the most likely of all the scenarios. But I think that new CBA includes a path. And that path, I mean, it would still have to, it would still require some compromise on both sides, not necessarily financially, but I think that there's enough flexibility. It's kind of nerdy or wonky, but there's a 30% rule in the old CBA that players couldn't have a raise or a pay cut more than 30%. That's gone now. That's more flexibility. So I wonder if the Chiefs, and maybe Chris would still want to go to the open markets, because there's two things that are true. Like Chris has said, I want to stay in Kansas City. I think that's true. But what he doesn't say is, I want to stay in Kansas City as long as that's the best deal. I mean, I think that's what he means by that. But what if the Chiefs can offer him something like 5 years and $70 million guaranteed? You know, the total would be 100 and something, like Frank Clark's contract, but the guarantee is what matters. Right. And that guarantee would have to be a little bit creative, but you could pay a big chunk of it up front. That's what's important, upfront money, and then also another big chunk in 2022 when the TV deal. Yeah, and then at that point the salary cap skyrockets. So you can say, Chris, you wanted. And look, they were going for Aaron Donald money. I think that was like an open negotiation. That's like, so he asked for the moon and settled for the star or whatever. But I think he would take Frank Clark money. You know, I think that's the contract.
That's better than Frank Clark money. If it's $70 million guaranteed.
It is. It's 6.5. I think Frank was 63.5.
Yeah. So 62.5 or 63.
62.5 or 63.5. So it's about a 10% raise off of that. And he gets all his money, he gets to stay. And look, he may decide, you know what, maybe I can get 5 years, $75 million guaranteed, and you guys had your opportunity to sign me for less than, I was going to take a hometown deal last summer. Those days are gone. But I just wonder if that's a path that exists now that either didn't exist or I didn't see that existed before the new CBA was approved.
That's interesting. A couple things here. The Calais Campbell trade today from Jacksonville to the Baltimore Ravens. Jacksonville got back a fifth-round draft pick for what I think one of the premier defensive players at his position, that 3-4 defensive end. I'm thinking, wow, if that's all that Jacksonville got back for Calais Campbell, what are the Chiefs thinking that they can get for Chris Jones in a tag and trade?
Look, I think these two things are true. I think that they should have got more than that.
I think so too.
But I also think that Campbell is like 35.
He's 34.
34, and $15 million, and wants a new contract. So it's not just
not apples to apples.
Yeah, is he worth more than a fifth-round pick? It's all. I still think that that kind of player should be able to bring back a
Yeah.
third or something. I don't
The
know.
Ravens got the better of that deal.
Yes. But, and I still believe, I keep going back to somebody who I know is really plugged in with these things, who thought that the potential compensation that the Chiefs would get in a trade would be between what they got for D Ford. It would be more than what they got for D Ford and less than what they gave up for Frank Clark. Somewhere in there, which is pretty good. You know, if you can get a first and a second, something, you know, I mean, that's
Yes.
pretty good.
I'm curious
Or
what you
first and a
guys.
third or whatever.
You probably want to talk more about personnel. I'll come back to my point.
Well,
Yeah.
let's the idea of Damian Williams.
Or Wilson. Wilson.
Well, both.
Well, yeah, but okay.
Well, Damian Wilson too is another one that they've.
I thought that was the new one.
Mildly
Okay.
surprised at that. I thought,
Yeah.
I think he's 3.2.
Yeah, it's
million.
3.2. Seems
And
like it could have saved some money there.
He did play well. He was much better, you know, in the playoffs in the last, 5-ish games of
Well,
the
he
regular
switched
season.
positions this year too.
Yeah.
That was the other thing. He,
Yeah,
he
he
was
came
second on
on-
the team on tackles, and he ended up in terms of just number of plays and and snaps. He was their second most productive linebacker.
Yeah, I thought he was really good in the playoffs and really good in the Super Bowl. I mean, not like flashy, wasn't making, like Tyrann Mathieu kind of stuff, but just always around the ball, always seemed to, smart player, always in the mix. And at 3.2, that's money that you can save, but that's not, if you can get a productive player out of 3.2, you do it.
Is there an early indication, and it's really early, but is there an early indication that they are going to do more to keep the band together than maybe
I think
we
that's
might
what
have
they
initially
want.
thought? That's sort of the early
Yeah.
message here.
I think that's what it's what they should want to do. Like, not
Yeah,
only, I think
it's-
every Super Bowl winner wants to do that, but, there's teams that win the Super Bowl with a roster that you think maybe has peaked
Yeah.
age-wise, or maybe even is on the downslope, but you think you can squeeze another year, maybe two out of it. I believe that this team is still going up, and not just because of the quarterback. But, if you just look at Travis Kelce is, of the stars, is the one that you would say is the closest to his athletic decline.
Yeah.
And I think he's 30.
29,
and,
30, yeah,
and I don't
maybe
see
30.
anything in the last 4 years, certainly, to indicate that he's going down. I mean, I don't think he's going to get better from here, but I think he might have a pretty damn good plateau. And he's the worst, you know what I mean, of
Right.
in terms of age. I mean, Mitch Schwartz is older than he is, but offensive linemen age pretty damn well.
Yeah.
Tyrann Mathieu is, 27
26, 27?
now? Frank Clark
26,
is 20,
27,
20
25, 26, yeah.
Tyreek Hill is 25-ish.
I think he's 25.
I mean, it's just, Charvarius Ward, who came on, is 23 or 22. Juan Thornhill, when he comes back, I mean, they're important guys. Damian Williams, he's got some injury issues or whatever, but McCole Hardman, I mean, it's just all those guys. And then, not to mention the freaking quarterback, this unicorn quarterback who's 25. I mean, it's just, they are really well set up for the future. I don't think they can keep everybody. It's just the reality of the NFL. People want to get paid, but God dang, like that's what I'd want to do, is like keep everybody together.
Tell you
It's a really
what,
good
all
team.
those guys you just mentioned, and you're right, they won't be able to quite keep everybody, but they can keep a lot of those guys. That's a 5-year, 3 to 5 year built-in run,
For sure, you would think so.
isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
right? I mean, that's just on the surface.
Yeah. I mean, you never know, like, how injuries and all that stuff, and once you can get down in it a little bit. Bashaud Breeland, I think, is 28-ish. I kind of expect him to go sign a 3
Go
years,
cash
32.
in.
Yeah.
He's got to cash in.
He's been trying to cash in for a couple years, and he earned the hell out of whatever new contract. I mean, he made so many big plays. I mean, just, in Detroit, in New England, I mean, it was
Super
just...
Bowl, picking the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, big play after big play. Kendall Fuller's a really interesting case to me. I could see teams giving him some Super Bowl shine that I expect Bashaud Breeland to get. I could also see teams being like, in your contract year, you got pushed off your position, you got hurt.
Yeah.
But he's also, I think he's 20, he's really young. He's like 24, 25.
Right.
I think he's a guy that the Chiefs would love to keep around. I mean, he was an absolute pro. We talk a lot about how well Chris Jones handled his contract situation just as a man, as a pro. Kendall Fuller had he got hurt and asked to move
switched,
position in a contract year and handled that terrifically. both as a man and as a player. I mean, he played really well too. I wonder what happens with a guy like him as well.
What are they going to do with Sammy Watkins?
He's not going to be back on that deal, but I could see him working out something. He
think
was
Sammy
really good in the postseason.
Want that?
I don't think he's going to take less money, but he could restructure into making it a more palatable 2020 situation. But gosh, I mean, $14 million is a lot of money to save just by cutting one guy, especially when you just drafted McCole Hardman and you have this quarterback that you think can stretch things a little bit.
Or did the Houston Texans just trade DeAndre Hopkins, thinking there's Sammy Watkins out there waiting to be grabbed?
Yeah. Man, I'm just sorry. We can trade DeAndre Hopkins because we'll get Sammy Watkins. It's the same thing. I like Sammy Watkins a lot, but whew,
Yeah.
if we were doing this show, like the Houston Chronicle version of Facebook Live,
if I was Jerome Solomon, that's what you're saying.
that'd be a show. That would be a show.
Well, you wrote about your column this morning was about how the CBA, which was approved by the players in the narrowest of
60 votes, yeah.
With 500 guys that didn't vote.
Yeah, that was interesting
Kinda
too.
odd.
So what was it? It was 2,100 voters or players.
It was
who voted.
1,978 votes. I don't know why I remember that.
Okay.
And it cleared by 60 votes.
Yeah, boy, and so the younger players wanted it because it increases minimum wage basically, and really helps the guys at the lower end, which is more than half of your roster anyway. Yeah. The older veteran players, the money makers, didn't want it and were kind of outspoken about not wanting it, but it passed. And so, but you wrote anyway, Sam, that it helps the Chiefs in a couple of ways, and you've already addressed one of them with with the financially, but a couple other ways too.
Yeah, and the Chris Jones, if they can get that done, that's the most important one. But one look like this is for every team, but it guarantees labor peace through Patrick Mahomes' age 35 season, and so
right,
there's still some residual. You don't know how the Chiefs are going to chief. You just know that they're going to chief, and losing prime years of that guy to a work stoppage would be that would be vintage.
You're really feeling that residual? That's my takeaway.
I think
from
some
that
people
sentence.
do.
Yeah.
Not me. I think he's changed everything.
Yeah,
I think
do
without him. Maybe this virus happens 2 months ago. It's just, I think they've gotten every break, man. Bill O'Brien messing up 2 straight 4th down decisions. It's just, they got the loss to the Titans turning into Terrell Suggs, and they still effectively get the number 1 seed because they still host the NFC Championship game. Their luck with everything, virtually everything except for D Ford lining up off sides, their luck has been unbeatable. I mean, it's been
Dolphins beating the Patriots in week 17.
Yeah.
There's a meme out there. I think of I think it's when it's 24-0 Texans and Patrick's looking up at the scoreboard. And it's like the look he gives coronavirus right before he's going to lead Kansas City to the greatest comeback ever. So there's hope out there, people.
The other part of the CBA that I think will benefit the Chiefs is they're redoing the playoff format, right?
Yeah.
And there's an extra wild card team.
And that's going to happen this year. We'll talk about the 17th game. That's probably not going to happen until 21.
Right.
But the playoff format's looks like that's going to change for 2020.
Yep. And so since I think 1990 with the 2-bye system, something like 51.6 or something like that % of number 1 seeds have made the Super Bowl, and then 28 something like that % of the number 2 seeds have made the Super Bowl. So you're talking about 80% of teams that get a bye get to the Super Bowl. So this is hugely important. You would think that a team, again, with that quarterback and a good roster will not miss the playoffs ever.
Right.
You would think. And also not just that, but be in contention for that bye more years than not. And we'll see how the data, what we see, but it would make sense that the importance, the value, the advantage of a bye is even greater in this new system than it has been in the past. So if the Chiefs are able to get that bye, they're the only team in the NFL that's had a bye each of the last 2 seasons. And you would think that advantage would just be amplified. And even if you're the number 2, okay, it's not as good as being the number 2 last year, but now you still have a home game against a team that wouldn't have made the playoffs in the past. So I think that this new playoff system amplifies the importance of getting the number 1 especially, but even a number 2 seed, and the Chiefs should be in the mix for that.
I'll tell you what, I think it really hoses the 2 seed. I mean, now the 2 seed has to play 3 playoff games.
Yeah.
You know, that's the 1 seed that gets really inconvenienced, which is what the Chiefs were this past year,
Yep.
number 2. Now, number 1 lost, so they got to play the AFC title game at home. But, man, now the 2 has to win 3 games to get to a Super Bowl. That's a chore. That's hard to do.
If you were going to bet over the next 5 years of the team in the AFC that would have the most number 1 seeds, wouldn't it be the Chiefs? The Ravens are the other choice, you know.
And until Lamar Jackson shows me
Yeah.
he can, win a big playoff
Yeah.
game, he's 0 for 2 as a playoff starter at home,
Yeah.
in both games at home.
Yeah.
Both games low scoring. The Chargers 2 years ago and the Titans this past year, he hasn't been able to, get his team's offense
Yeah.
going in those games. So yeah, I think yes, you give it to the team with the best quarterback. So I don't know. But starting in 2021, they're going to have to negotiate a 17-game schedule, regular season schedule.
Yeah.
All of that, the extra playoff round and the 17-game schedule is to increase the revenue for the NFL. That's what X number more games being played in the regular season for the NFL in the 17-game season. So I think that's why we're going to see a jump in the salary cap for 2021. There'll just be more revenue for NFL teams. But 17 games, that's one thing that I think if you took each of the issues in the CBA line by line, I think whether you're a veteran or a minimum wage type player, they all oppose the 17-game schedule. That, the younger players wanted the money, they wanted the revenue increase, but nobody seemed to be happy with the 17-game schedule. The owners really wanted the 17-game schedule. What's that going to look like? What is a 17-game schedule with now 3 preseason games going to look like? I think the first stories that I've heard are 1 year the NFC will get 9 home games and the AFC 8, and then they'll flop them the next year. But what does that do with international games? What does that do with the Mexico and London games? How are you going to a team that has 9 away games? Are they going to make them give up a home game to go to Mexico City or London? It just 17 games is odd.
What's the full definition of neutral site too? I mean, what's that going to be, right?
Well,
or is maybe that's not even the right terminology they use in the final language? But I mean, does this create a Cowboys and Texans playing in San Antonio, Chiefs and Bears playing in St. Louis?
I think the first couple of years, I don't think we're going to see those games early. I think we'll just see the international games and not neutral site games. They're going to have to figure out what neutral site games are, what they mean, and how they, just for competitive fairness.
Yeah.
Who's going to play those and who. Heck, if you're a Chiefs fan, you want to see the Raiders, the Chargers, the Broncos all give up home games to go play.
Yeah.
Logistically, the one that makes sense is the one that you just mentioned about 1 year the NFC gets the game and the next year the AFC. And I would assume that in that situation, the international games, if it's the AFC's turn to have the extra home game, it's the AFC team that's given up that home game to play international.
Right.
I would assume that that's the case. But I've always thought, and this is not like me thinking, like I think a lot of people have thought that the end game or the goal here from the league's point of view is that everybody plays an international game. And that's so you
End
still
game.
get 8-8-1.
Yeah.
Basically. And I don't know if they can, could you sell? I know you could sell it, but would you want to just do, there's a game every week at Wembley? Or.
And how about the Jaguars giving up 2 games, 2 home games this year to go to London?
Yeah, I thought this didn't seem to catch much traction at all, at least in what I read and heard, but I thought with the 17th game, maybe you get another bye. And that would seem a little bit.
I thought that too, but now I'm reading that it's going to be played within the regular schedule, beginning with the first preseason game through the end. So maybe there is no. No.
Yep. Yeah. No. Yeah. I just thought that would have been
that was
thing
what
from
the
the players.
negotiating point was going to be.
Look, player safety, whatever. Like we'll do this extra game, but just. And I don't know what the NFL. What would the league's, sort of resistance on that be? If anything, it's like a longer schedule. It's more weekends that you have football. I would think the networks would be into. I don't know. I was surprised that didn't catch more traction.
And I guess one of the solutions I've heard, I don't know how practical it is, but starters wouldn't play as many snaps during the game. At least you would you'd give them 16 game snaps over 17 games, basically, but how do you do that with your quarterback? I don't know how that would work either. How do you do that with your quarterback? And
I mean, there's a lot of, competitive coaches, you get in the moment, like, no, we need you out there. I don't know how that would work.
But one thing we have seen is roster sizes are going to increase, right?
Yep.
From 53 to 55, active rosters from 46 to 48, with one of those guys having to be an offensive lineman in the 48, and practice squad going from 12 to 14, I think, and you can bring two guys up every week. So, I mean, from that standpoint, that's a response to a 17-game schedule.
Yeah, it is. And there are some real, and I'm saying this to preface, I think that the players lost on this. It just seems like the deal's too long, and they gave up the one thing that the owners want. They will never have more leverage than they had with that 17th game. And it seems like they gave it up. Look, there's more jobs. Guys are going from $550 or whatever to closer to $1 million. The minimum wage is going up. There's some real benefits. The players didn't just get screwed. It just seems like they gave up that and in return got too much stuff that the owners don't care about. What do the owners care about reduced practice snaps? What do the owners care about the marijuana tests? What do the owners care about, a lot of it's just, come on, guys. This is the one time, NFL players probably will never again have that kind of leverage, and they just, and they never will again.
10 years of labor peace, though. Digging that.
Oh, it's great for the again, it's great for the owners that they can, in 2022, they can, we're giving you more football, and you don't have to worry about any sort of work stoppage for at least, at that point, 8 years or whatever. It's going to be a bonanza.
How about, before we get out of here, let's talk a little bit about what else is happening in the NFL, starting with the Ryan Tannehill contract.
Yeah.
How much of that, I got it written down here, how much of that was
APR
guaranteed?
was 29.5.
62 million guaranteed.
Yeah.
For Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah.
For a college wide receiver.
Yeah, I really like Ryan Tannehill. I think that he's better than it seems like 95% of people who watch football think he is. I think he's a good player. I think that he was surrounded by a lot of crap in Miami, and
for sure,
came on, had a really good 13 games or whatever. That's still too much money,
for a team that wants to contend, it's too much money.
Yeah. It's just, look, the Titans have been a bad franchise, and, they might look at this, I assume they look at this as, we've got a good roster right now, let's keep being a playoff team. But to me, if you're in the AFC and three of the teams that aren't you have Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, and Lamar Jackson, you got to do better. And I'm okay with Ryan Tannehill being your quarterback. I think he's a good player. I just don't think you need to pay him like he's the fifth or sixth best quarterback in the league.
Where was he going to go?
Exactly. Yeah. Just this bidding, and the Chiefs did it. Every team does it. The Chiefs did it with Alex Smith, who's an above average quarterback that they paid a top 8 kind of quarterback. I get why it happens, but I'm a little bit surprised that teams haven't gone off that a little bit and said, you know what? Let's try to win with a cheaper quarterback and make the rest of the roster a little bit better, because the difference in an average quarterback and Ryan Tannehill is not the same as the difference between what we would pay an average quarterback and what we're having to pay Ryan Tannehill.
Right. I also think it was interesting that the Titans made that statement right away. Right. That was the first big news that came out of yesterday, and the Titans were a team that was kind of associated with Tom Brady, right?
Yeah.
Because of Vrabel, the coach, and they were texting each other during the Carolina basketball game, and so you're thinking, so what's going on here? And the other team that Brady's been closely associated with is the 49ers, his hometown, his favorite team growing up, and his buddy Chris Sims has said that ain't happening.
Yeah.
So was this all smokescreen for Brady? Is he going to be back with the Patriots? And we were all just
the Chargers are the other team that
the Bucs are one that I've heard.
Bucs seem to be the inside track now, right? That's the notion.
I mean, it seems like he'll go back, I guess. But the other thing, here's a little thought experiment. If you're the Titans just for 2020, would you rather have Tannehill or Brady?
That's a good question. I think I'd rather have Tannehill.
Me too.
I
think Brady has fallen.
He was 9-3 in the regular season. 9-3 for a team that started whatever they started to get to 9-3, and then won at New England and won at Baltimore, and led the Chiefs by 10 in the AFC Championship game. I agree with you that I think Tannehill's he's somewhat limited, but I think he's the best option for Tennessee right now. Because you got Derrick Henry, and he's a beast. He's the best running back, I think, in football. Are you going to start over at quarterback if you don't re-sign Ryan Tannehill, or if you're going to basically you start over with Tom Brady?
Yeah.
I think this is the best situation for Tennessee, and I'd look at Tennessee to be favorite in this division, along with the Chiefs, the Ravens, and I guess the Patriots. I guess in the East.
If Brady goes back, or either way.
Yeah, I don't think actually it doesn't matter at this point. Although the Bills, don't forget about the Bills. So anyway. All right. Hey, look, thanks for joining us today. We really enjoyed talking to you. It was really nice to talk some sports. We didn't get to do much of that this weekend, and we'll be doing this. We'll be back talking sports on Facebook Live, and certainly every day this week and into next week on the SportsBeat KC podcast. So please give that a listen. You can find it on YouTube, on Stitcher, on Megaphone. So anywhere you download your favorite podcasts, you can find SportsBeat KC. So for Sam and Vahe and Beth Welsh, who always steers us the right way in these things, thanks a lot, and we'll talk to you again soon.